question number 9. So question number 9 wants us to graph the absolute value equation. So it says graph this equation right here. So whenever we see these lines right here, we know that that is an absolute value. All right. Normally you would want to isolate the absolute value, but this time we want to graph it. Okay. So whenever you're graphing an absolute value equation, you need to know the shape you're going to have. Whenever you have absolute values, it's either going to be a V shape or an upside down V shape. Okay? It's a V shape whenever the number in front is positive. Alright? So again, it's a V shape when it has a positive leading coefficient. Okay? Whenever you have an upside down V shape, that means that it has a negative leading coefficient. So again, it means that the number in front is negative. All right. So looking at this question right here, do you think it's going to have does it have a positive leading coefficient or does it have a negative leading coefficient? The number in front is a -2, so that means it has a negative leading coefficient. So that means that my shape is going to look like an upside down V. Okay? So now I'm going to plot something called the vertex. So the vertex is this point right here. So to find your vertex, you look at the number inside of the absolute value. You're going to do the opposite of this number. Opposite of a -3 is a +3. Then we do the same as this outside number. Alright? So the 1 would stay the same. Okay? So on my graph right here, I will try to plot this point 3, 1. So that would mean 3 for the x and +1 for the y. So this is what my vertex is. Again, this is called your vertex because that's where all points meet. Okay? And I know that my graph is going to look something like it's going downwards because the number in front is negative. But I need to make sure that my graph is accurate. So this is what I'm going to do to make sure that my graph is accurate. I'm going to look to the left and the right of my point. So to the left of my point would be +2, and to the right of my point is +4. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to plug in +2 for my x to find the y value that goes with it. So I would have -2, absolute value, 2 minus 3, absolute value plus 1. Then I would have -2, absolute value 2 minus 3 is -1, plus 1. When you apply the absolute value to a number inside, it makes that number always stay positive. So this -1 will turn to a +1. Okay? And then it's being multiplied by -2. So -2 multiplied by 1 is -2. And -2 plus 1 is -1. So that means when my x value was +2, which I plugged in, I got -1 for the y value that goes with it. Okay? So I'll put a point right here. So now I do to the right of this point. So to the right of that point would be what number for the x? 4. So I'm going to plug 4 inside of here. So I would have -2, absolute value instead of x. I'm going to plug in 4 minus 3, absolute value plus 1. -2 I would bring down, okay? And then 4 minus 3 is 1 plus 1. -2, when you have an absolute value, it makes that number stay positive. So I have -2 times -1, which is +2, and +2 plus 1. Oh, sorry, this should be a +1. So this would be a -2. So -2 plus 1 is -1. So that means this point would be +4, -1. All right. And again, it would follow those same trends. So now I'll plug a number to the left of here. So I'll plug in +1 and +5. So you can plug those in your calculator, and this is what your graph. Alrighty guys, so when I plug the various things in my calculator, so again, what I did was that I typed this out in my calculator, and then I replaced x with the various numbers just like I did here. Okay, but I used my calculator to help me Okay, so when I plugged in 1, I got negative 3. Okay, which we didn't calculate. So again, when we plugged in 1, I got negative 3. When I plugged in 5, I also got negative 3. When I plugged in 0, I got negative 5. When I plugged in 6, I got negative 5. And when I plugged in negative 1, I got negative 7. When I plugged in positive 7, I got positive or negative 7. All right. So again, this is what my function will look like after you plug it into your calculator. So again, guys, just like that.